So this was a femto operated elsewhere. It's a dislocated IOL, dislocated inferiorly. This is the right eye. The plan A was to see if the anterior rhexis margin is intact. Then we could have just dialed this into the sulcus. Second plan was to do a lasso technique and pull the lens upward. And the third would be to explant it. But as soon as I put this, it shows that the lens goes inferiorly. Now I dial it into the sulcus because the rhexis margin is seen clearly superiorly, and continue to dial it. The third option was going to be to explant the IOL and put an iris claw. So after dialing it, it looks stable because the superior haptic is nicely rested on the capsular rhexis margin, but on examination with a Y hook, I do not see an intact inferior capsular rhexis margin. Now when I try pressing the lens, it is not very stable, and with very high chances that on standing up this lens may again dislocate inferiorly. So I put a little triamcinolone to check for any vitreous. I see a strand. This peaking sign of the pupil is very typical, and I decide to hook the vitreous strand, and for now just cut it with a pair of scissors. Now I'm thinking what to do. So 3 millimeters behind the limbus and 1.5 millimeters behind the limbus, I make 2 marks, and we'll be using the lasso technique. So we use 60 proline, and this I learned from Dr. Zain Khatib, and thread it in a 30 gauge needle and then go below the haptic. Now you see there is no main incision. This is all being done through the side ports. Normally one wouldn't even do the second side port, but I had to check for the integrity of the capsular rhexis, and hence the second side port has been made. Otherwise this can easily be done with only the left side port. Now I remove this, so this has come from under the haptic. Trying to thread a proline suture is difficult, so I go with a 27 gauge long 1-inch needle and go below. I go above the haptic because I had come out from below, so now I have to go above, and here it becomes easier also. So from the side, if I sweep, I am above it. This is a little blind procedure, but by giving good counter pressure, I am able to go through and remove the suture and retract the needle back. Now this pull confirms that one loop is above and one loop is below. A little triamcinolone added to get free of any vitreous. So go behind the lens, clear all the vitreous. This is fast forwarded, otherwise it's generally just steady in one place. Only at the end a little side to side sweeping movement is done. The two flanges are cauterized with a heat cautery, and they are flat like mushrooms, and I prefer to pull the conjunctiva over the bulb. I've given a subconj, but still that peaking pupil is bothering me. So it looks okay, but I'm not ready to say bye yet. Patient is moving a little. So I want to go in and inquire and find out why that pupil is peaking there, because this can lead to retinal edema later, macular edema. So here you are, and we found this strand, and I just pull it sufficiently that it slips back into its home in the vitreous. Now we see a clean sweep, no peaking of the pupil at that time. Now I am ready to hydrate the wounds. There is no main incision, as you see, it's all done through the side ports. So just as a cataract routine, I was going to hydrate the main port, but there is none. So minimally invasive.